And now, I'm delighted to introduce the Uncanny Coconuts. The moons to my planet. The suns to my solar system. The Milky Ways of my galaxy. My life without you both is like cornflakes without the milk. My masters. Coco Loco and Coco Palau.
Uncanny Coconuts!
Yeah. Welcome back to the Uncanny Coconuts with your hosts, Coco Palau.
And Coco Loco. Welcome back.
That's right. Well, welcome back. I know, actually, how many more episodes do we have before we hit 100? It's like 2 more?
3? I don't know.
3 or 2 more, right? We're confused. But it's coming soon. I guess that much we could agree on. Today, we're sticking to some more uncanny alien conspiracy facts. And we found this interesting video which sparked this conversation about did the aliens nuke Mars? Coco Loco, why don't you tell us a little bit about it before we begin?
Okay. Well, this is from NASA's Unexplained Files, episode 8. Season 6 on that they have this show going on. It's great. And a strange discovery by NASA's Mars Curiosity rover suggests the red planet was home to an alien nuclear war 300 million years ago. Experts investigate if an extraterrestrial Armageddon transformed an Earth-like world into a wasteland, which is Mars, right? So the theory is based on the scientific evidence of analysis of what the rover came up with, the ground, the rocks, and everything.
Right. Well, I think it found an element called Xenon 129, I think, right?
Right.
And that this element, Xenon 129, apparently is an after effect from a nuclear war. Or from nuclear detonation.
Right, nuclear detonation. So what I think is astrophysicists or astronomers, scientists, whatever they are trying to figure out if this can happen naturally. If this element can appear on a planet naturally, by natural means. Because as far as we know, it cannot.
And I know so it's a nice video, and we're going to have the video link on our description. But it goes on to say that right now, this element, the Xenon 129, has occurred on Earth. And you know when it's occurred on Earth?
Mm-hmm.
On the places that we've detonated nuclear bombs.
Exactly.
So that's why they're making that intuitive, putting those 2 points together.
But that's just one of the reasons why there's no place on Earth where it has happened naturally either.
Right. It's usually only on the places where there's been a nuclear explosion.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. As far as potential facts, that kind of makes scary sense. If we've discovered Xenon 129 here on Earth, and it's happened after a thermonuclear explosion, and that element seems to be all over Mars, that seems to be a pretty good correlation there. The only thing is that it's talking about this was probably 300 billion years ago?
Right. So
or million. Is it million?
Million. 300 million
okay.
years ago. So that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. So
I don't know. That's freaky.
I'm sure there's ways why they came up with that number that we can't explain right now unless you go with the episode and all the facts, right? But there is a progression of the geology of Mars that suggests that it took that much time for the planet to become the way it is now. So, I mean, that's a long time. So it's very feasible that the planet could have been beautiful. There could have been water, flowing water. It had, according to them, had an atmosphere, had vegetation.
Right. We see that it had channels of water.
It very similar to Earth until the greenhouse effect took over and created this huge, wasteland, desert. That's what happens after 300 million years.
Right. I don't know if you know this also, but part of it also is that the Mars, how they say the Earth has a spinning iron core, which is what provides us with our magnetic field.
Right.
Mars does not. They don't have a spinning iron core, so they don't have a magnetic field.
So what does that mean?
Well, I mean, that magnetic field is part of what keeps our atmosphere in place.
Oh, yeah.
And so that could be part of what made Mars lose their atmosphere a while ago. But you know what I actually found even more interesting?
But you think that could have been because of a blast, or because naturally Mars never had a
It
field?
could have been. Well, no. It sounds like it was because of a blast. So one of the things that, in looking at that article, right, they talk about, well, if there was such a blast, right, how come we don't see these huge craters? And one of the things that they mentioned in the article is that the blast was in the air. It never impacted land. So it was an atmospheric detonation. And that's why, the topic of that YouTube video is, did aliens nuke Mars? Because it must have been extraterrestrial, or I mean, technically it could have been another faction, right? Another government on Mars, and it went, continental, intercontinental, ballistic, and in the atmosphere, and blew up in the atmosphere too. I mean, that could have happened. I mean, we technically have the ability to do that.
Yeah. What if there was a 300 million years ago there was a civilization, intelligent beings on Mars, and they nuked themselves?
Right. Yeah.
Mars could be a future of us.
Well, you know what's really interesting? I was just gonna say, Coco Loco, in that YouTube video, right? I was reading some of the comments. There were some really good comments. Because so here goes one by Mike. The interesting thing for me is that Mars has no magnetic field because the molten core does not spin. If you look at some photographs of Mars taken by orbiters, there does seem to be a huge crater that takes up much of one side of the planet. Could this have been an impact crater from a blast so large that it caused the core to stop spinning? Without the magnetic field, the solar wind would of course strip away the atmosphere over time, rendering the planet uninhabitable. And it's like, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, it's a good point because you can see, well, the thing is that you can see the impacts. The planet is so dissolute, it's so bare that you can see the impacts. There's impacts, crater impacts on Earth. You can't see them. They're not as obvious because of the
elevation and the vegetation and years of erosion.
Water, the ocean is covering a lot of reasons they can't see the impact of what supposedly the theory of the dinosaur extinction comet or meteor or whatever. They can't see that. It's because it's part in the water. So yeah, that could have been at some point that could have happened to Mars, but that still wouldn't explain the mineral, right? The
Xenon 129.
It wouldn't explain
right.
it because that needs a detonation unless it happens naturally, which they haven't figured out yet if it's possible.
Well, at least on Earth, they've only found that Xenon 129 only happens after a nuclear explosion.
So right now, the only explanation now, if you really want to come down and do a theory based on the facts, the only explanation is that it was that something detonated on purpose. It was an intelligent extinction of Mars, either to destroy or terraform. And I'm thinking, I like the terraform idea because it could have been, if it was aliens, they could have been trying to terraform the planet.
Even though terraforming by blowing it up, I don't know how that would work. How would terraforming is that you're trying to create an atmosphere and an environment hospitable for life. How would blowing it up make that possible?
This is what happened on Earth. Technically, we wouldn't be here if a comet wouldn't have destroyed the dinosaur.
Okay, so you're saying there was some kind of indigenous life on Mars. So maybe this thing went wrong. So they tried to terraform it and instead it destroyed the planet.
If it went wrong and they stopped the core from spinning, or they something happened that it didn't take. So then I was just thinking it could happen, even though they should be smart enough to get it right because they're so advanced, So, I mean, it's either that or they were doing it to destroy whatever civilization was on the planet. if the planet themselves didn't destroy themselves, which it's a good possibility.
Hello, this is Samantha, and the coconuts will be right back after this quick break. And we're back with the Uncanny Coconuts.
So another comment, which this actually kind of mirrors one that I had. By the way, I posted it on our blog. If you go to the uncannycoconuts.com/blog, it was a blog post, this article and this link, which is, who's to say that maybe the Earth wasn't populated with some sort of alien species 300 million years ago, and that they were at war with Mars, and maybe they destroyed it. Earlier aliens on Earth
Earthlings?
destroyed Mars. Well, I guess they could have been Earthlings, or they could have been aliens that landed on Earth. And
There's so many. It still comes down to an advanced technology, an advanced civilization with technology.
Civilization of some sort.
It still comes down to whether there's a lot of scenarios that could have happened.
We've only been on Earth, humans, for a few million years. But I was going to say, how long ago was Atlantis? Because, remember Atlantis was supposed to have an advanced civilization here on Earth.
It hasn't been that long.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. So I just Googled Atlantis, and it says in her book, Blavatsky reported that the civilization of Atlantis reached this peak between 1 million and 900,000 years ago, but destroyed itself through internal warfare brought about by the dangerous use of psychic and supernatural powers of the inhabitants.
Psychic and supernatural? That's weird. I didn't think those were things that actually exist.
Well, in the story of Atlantis, they said that, they had psychic powers, the Atlanteans, and that's why they had civilizations out in the oceans and everything. But they say that was between 1 million and 900,000 years ago. So that's a little too long. Well, not really, actually. If maybe the leftover civilization of the Atlanteans, and 300 million years ago, they decided to blow up Mars. Who knows? All I know is that I don't know.
No.
I'm sorry, let me mention one more comment that I saw here on the YouTube link. A gentleman by the name of Herbert goes, the question remains, are we the escaping Martians who avoided the nuclear blast on Mars? In fact, are we aliens taking refuge on planet Earth? So who's to say that, right? We're not the refugee Martians.
That could be a possibility. Listen,
that escaped the dying planet.
Mars seems like it's older than the Earth. Mars could have been the first civilization. The first intelligent civilization could have been on Mars, not here. And then when Mars went to shit, or they were blowing themselves up, or whatever, they had the technology. They obviously had the technology to get to Earth. They weren't that far away. So if they were like we are now, or a little bit more advanced, they probably already colonized Earth, or they had missions to Earth already, right? They already were. So if they were like destroying themselves over there, the rich and the scientists and the certain people, right, the elite, they could have gotten some on rockets, or they could have saved themselves, right? While they knew that the rest of the world was going to die, they could have saved themselves and traveled, and then gotten to Earth, and then start the colony here. And then that's where we became, there was Adam and Eve, and some guy started the Bible. That's where the Bible came from, right? Because the guy, probably the commander of that ship, was Adam, and his wife was Eve, and then they came to Earth and started Earth because Mars was blowing themselves up.
Dude, I don't think you even remember, but that's the premise of one of the Twilight Zone episodes.
The original Twilight Zone.
Yes. The original Twilight Zone, yes. There was an episode that two alien races that were enemies crash land on planet Earth, and the pilot's name that crash lands is called Adam. And his ship is wrecked, and he can't, he's marooned on this planet, and he's walking around the Earth, and he runs into a woman who's like not the same species as him. You know, and it's interesting because the whole episode goes on, and at the end of the episode, they kind of say each other's name to each other, and he goes Adam, and she goes Eve. And, you know, and that's how it ends. That it's like, oh, they could be Adam and Eve. And the last Battlestar Galactica kind of had the same premise. That kind of this advanced aliens came to Earth, and we repopulated the Earth from Cro-Magnon and, you know, became Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
So it is very popular in sci-fi.
If you, let's say, go by the Bible's chronology, if you take it as a logical, what logically could it happen, that's the story that would make sense scientifically. So it's very likely. It's very similar to if something would happen on Earth, like maybe 20, 30 years from now, we would be capable, we would be advanced enough to get to Mars already, right? Or get to another planet. Everything goes to shit, everybody bombs themselves here, and they some rich people, they know, right? The military, whatever, they kind of know that everything's going to go to shit. We can't save the planet. We got to get the hell out of here. Elon Musk would be the first one on his rocket to go to Mars. He would be out there already, you know, even though 30 years from now he'd be dead. But Elon Musk's son or someone that can get on a rocket, they would try to escape this world and then try to colonize, go back to, you know, go to Mars or colonize one of the moons of Jupiter, which has water, or whatever, you know. That's very possible that Mars could have done, especially when Earth was a habitable planet and he had an atmosphere, so they kind of knew, hey, that could be a possibility for a second home. Ooh.
So, I mean, it's all intriguing. I mean, if you really think about it, unfortunately, we just have no way of proving it. But I mean, the facts so far really point in that direction so far. And by the way, if you want to look up that episode of The Twilight Zone, it was called Probe 7, Over and Out. Again, the Colonel Adam Cook, gets stranded on the planet, and the alien is Eve Norda. And at the end, you know, he talks about how this planet is like a garden, and then she offers him a sepla, which was an anagram for apples, which is supposed to depict like the biblical forbidden fruit. And at the end, you know, Rod Serling narrates that he presumes the place they're heading to is Eden. So back to that whole notion you just said, I mean, it's been said in a few stories before, my brother.
To end the show, we should just embrace this new history of the planets, the new history of our world. Eventually it's going to come out.
You know what I think we need to do, unfortunately? No, but we need Elon Musk to finally get some people out there on Mars. We need to establish a colony on Mars. And once we truly start digging deep, we should be able to find all that technology and all that civilization, that proof of a previous civilization.
According to Buzz Aldrin, all those answers are on the dark side of the moon. So all we have to do is go over there. So maybe the Artemis mission can do it.
Yeah, well, again, that's a whole other story because they've been grounded. And I still say is alien gremlins doing it.
That's fine. They're going to be there a lot sooner than when we go to Mars. They can find that out.
Exactly. So on that note, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you have any comments, please let us know. Also, check out our blog and feel free to check out our podcast. Let us know what you think. Coco Pelao, over and out.
All right. See you guys later. And I have spoken.
Ciao.
I know you care.
And I still don't care.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And if you guys have any comments for us, we love to hear any comments on our 100th episode coming up. If you want to congratulate us, if you don't believe that we're getting to 100, like we barely believe it, if you want to give us words of encouragement or tell us off for any stupid things, just feel free to leave us a voicemail message or send us an email at uncannycoconuts@gmail.com.
Okay.
Why you shaking your head down?
Bye.
Ciao.
If you enjoyed this podcast, follow and subscribe. Just 2 more episodes to our groundbreaking 100th episode. Celebrate with us on our Uncanny Coconuts Facebook page. Ciao.
Uncanny Coconuts!